Is the meeting of the Advisory Committee on Sustainability. We're starting the meeting at 12:34, and we do have a quorum, though we do have some members absent. Terry, should I name them or?
No,
okay.
No need to.
So the first item on the agenda is to approve the past minutes from the January 9th meeting, I believe. We're going to hold that until next month, Terry?
Correct.
Okay, we don't have those minutes to approve just yet. The second item on the agenda is recycling, and the first item under that is food scrap recycling. So a discussion and action on purchasing the next set of bins. We initially purchased a set of 200 food scrap recycling kits. We have about 25 left. Wow. So Ed and I had discussed, hi Laura, putting in another order. Ed, I've been in touch with the vendors. They will be sending you estimates for the quantity that we discussed, which is another set of 200. I've been advised by the distributor of the 6-gallon buckets that they are in transit from the UK right now, and so they have none to send us. They expect to get them the first week in March. I'm waiting to hear from him what the turnaround time would be for them to then be shipped to us, but from my recollection from the last time is that they turn them around pretty quickly. So okay. I'm hoping that we can get them the second week in March. Second or third week in March. So we'll be ordering those. I also just wanted to report very quickly that we've had some inquiries from other towns regarding our food scrap recycling program, from the environmental operations manager in Greenwich, the economic development coordinator in the I'm not sure if it's the village or the town of Haddam, and the director of public works from Old Saybrook. And this has come either through our recycle@darionct.gov email, or Ed forwarded an email from the Greenwich Environmental Operations Manager. So that's actually consistent with what we wanted to do. We wanted to serve as a model for other communities to start similar programs. So we're just, giving them, sharing our information with them, and we'll see what happens after that.
I just got an email from
Laura, why don't you come sit at the table?
I just got an email from Henley saying that they would really love to explore the food scrap for school.
Okay.
And I said, well, that's something that, it's really great to hear that. Yep. That there's an interest beyond what. And the word is out there. So.
That actually has been sort of a frequent sentiment of residents in general, is when is this going to spill over into the schools? And Ed and I had discussed that briefly. That's another whole set of approvals that, we have to do that through the Board of Education, Mike Lynch. So I was hoping that maybe, Christine's not here today, but she is the person who typically has been the contact with the school, so I'm hoping that maybe she can reach out to him. My recollection from what Craig said at an earlier meeting is that the issue with that is the need for a pretty substantial number of volunteer hours. So that might be, it's not just as simple as setting it up, but there have to be volunteers.
How much is it each kit? You have to buy them in 200 bin quantities, the small one and the big one?
Yeah, well, we buy, so for the residents to purchase them, they're $25. We're selling them for $25 cash or check, and that's pretty much at cost.
One other question. She also asked, there's these wonderful trays that the kids put their food on, and it's compostable. It totally breaks down, whether they're putting it. If it's clean enough, we put it in the recycle bin, and if it's not, and it's dirty and it's full of, she's like, why don't those actually get composted? Like, why don't, and I'm like, well.
Who's the she that you're talking?
This person is part of the PTO for Henley, and wanted to know, can we do a better job in recycling things that should be recycled, especially if they're compostable?
Yeah, so the commercial composting facilities that our food scraps go to don't permit the use of compostable materials, and we'll talk about this in the next item, but in single stream recycling, compostable plates, bowls, and utensils are not permitted either. So unfortunately, you know, unless things change, we don't have a place to recycle
Does
them.
that garbage all get burned, or does it go into land? So my question is, if it does go into a landfill, then that just breaks down? Or it does?
Our garbage
goes to...
Yeah, we'll let Ed answer that question.
Garbage goes...
Our municipal solid waste,
To Bridgeport,
And it gets burned?
yes.
Okay.
Is that the school's waste as well, or are they hauled off separately?
I believe they have contracts with city carting also, and if so, it does go up to Bridgeport.
Okay.
So burned. Yeah, that's too bad.
That is too bad.
It's-
Because we're thinking that, oh, this is going into some kind of landfill and it's going to break down, even if
No,
it's...
there's a huge need for education right now, my personal opinion, and that's part of what this committee is trying to do, obviously with the groups like yours, is to explain the differences in what's in the waste stream, what's in, what's out. Even some of the sustainable CT actions would actually be an education campaign. To do that would be considered a step,
Right.
because people,
Right.
there's information that's not shared generally.
Right, and
among
people
our
do want to
community.
do the right thing.
They want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, so I mentioned that we've had some inquiries from other towns. Alicia Sillers from the Youth Commission also contacted me and asked if we would be interested in setting up a table at the upcoming Community Arts Festival, which is on March 2nd from 1 to 3. It's for little kids, Ed, like preschoolers and
Yeah.
maybe early elementary. It's geared for the young.
Where do they have it?
They have all kind. I used to go to it when I was in the Dairy and Environmental Group. They have tables set up, different things, sort of with an environmental nature. Would you say, Laura?
I honestly don't know.
Oh, you've never been?
I've never been.
Okay.
So I was doing my own research to find out, like, all about it.
Okay.
And I found,
I remember it being.
It's like
here
face
at,
painting.
know,
Yeah, it's in the gym.
They have it in
Yeah,
the gym.
it's in the gym, and
It's an arts-themed day with themed activities.
The Nature
that have
Center
fun
usually
and
has a table
education
there.
components, and you bring your children on a March day, and you can go from booth to booth to booth. So it's almost like an indoor fair, if you will.
Yes.
And
It's a good way to put it.
in trying to think of what related to this group or food recycling
Mhm.
might be, you'd have to have either, something that would be coloring
Yes.
or an activity where
Right.
you were putting fake food garbage into a bin and whatever. You'd have to come up with an activity
we
that
could
would.
actually, I don't know if you want to do this together, we could just do garbage art and put recyclables on the table and kids can create an art. We've done that in the schools tied to Earth Week, where we'll just bring a bunch of boxes and give the kids an idea of like, hey, let's create something out of garbage.
Right. I think, though, she was hoping that for our table, like, you guys certainly should set up
Right.
a table to do that. That sounds like a great idea. But I think she was hoping that we would have something that relates directly to food scrap recycling.
Okay.
And she also mentioned that we could sell our kits. That is, if we have kits to sell at that point, March 2nd. It depends on if we have any kits left. We have very few left.
So if we were to set up a table, would we be aiming it at the children or at the parents?
Both. I think we would have to have something, as Kathy mentioned, for the kids to do an activity, like a coloring sheet, maybe just like, something, we can find something, I'm sure, like on the internet, like a coloring sheet that we can reproduce that relates to food scrap recycling. And then we can have information for the parents about the food scrap recycling program and the kits to sell if we have any left.
Okay,
at that
so
point.
the second is a Friday?
It's a Saturday, March 2nd,
It's
from
only
1 to
2
3.
weeks 2 weeks
So
away.
Yeah.
who is available, who is willing to staff a table?
I'm hoping I can have a volunteer to work with me, but I can do it. I'm
Yeah,
happy to do it.
Let me just check my
Okay, that would be
my
great.
calendar.
It's
I
only
work
2
until
hours
2
in the
I
afternoon.
work until 12:30, and then I'll,
Okay.
might be able to come over.
So you're
We'll need
definitely
to
going to do it?
I told Alicia that I would put it in before the committee and just see if it's something that we thought was worthwhile,
Well,
but
let's start. Are you going to do it?
I can do it. I'm available to do it.
Okay. I'd have to check my wife's calendar.
Okay. Understood.
I do have a table, at least.
I think they set all that up.
Yeah, I think they
Okay.
provide that.
I might be able to too, or if we need to, we might be able to get one of the kids that's through the high school.
That would be great.
One of those that spoke at the press bag. So there would, I'm sure we can find
I think
a
I'm
secondary
available, but
volunteer.
I mean, if I'm going to do DEG, I can also certainly help.
And where is it?
It's in the gymnasium, in the,
Can you
Town hall gym?
pre-sell the kits? So if you don't have them, can you just take a list of people so that you can actually, I don't know how
okay,
you
can
would
we do
work.
that, Ed? Can we
Pay?
pre-sell kits and then deliver them if we don't have any
Or they
available?
can pick them.
I would just put them on a list and then call them when they come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
If they're
exchange
not-
their
and
money.
don't-
I wouldn't
and don't
want to
take the
hold
money.
any of the money.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, because it's
Yeah.
cash and check.
Yeah.
I've been, we've been so careful about making sure a receipt is written out for every roll of compostable bags, so,
But there's still 2 weeks, and you can at least advertise them
yes,
if you run out of the 20 or so that you have.
yes,
You have some to display, some to sell if they
Yes.
don't go, and you could have a list of people
right,
to follow up. And in terms of an activity, we can certainly do that offline.
okay,
Come up with it. I have a couple of ideas
great.
of things that might be an activity.
I mean, I think it's a good idea because, again, it just raises awareness about the program and what we're doing in general, gives, another touch point to, talk to residents and give them the opportunity to ask questions.
Yes.
So I should tell Alicia that we're interested in hosting a table?
I agree. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay. The next item on the agenda is what's in, what's out, discussion and action on new list format and content. So I think what that refers to is this, as everyone knows, is our existing list of single-stream recyclables, which is currently on the town website, and it's obsolete. It has things on here that we're now telling people do not put in single stream. So as everyone knows, and just to let the residents know, there was a universal guide that was developed by the Recycle CT that because so many different towns, even towns that have the same hauler servicing them, different towns permitted different things, and so to try to ensure consistency, they created this list, what's in, what's out. It's very simple. It tells you all the things that can go in, all the things that can't go in. The problem, per se, for us is that because this was generated for all of the materials recovery facilities statewide, City Carting has a materials recovery facility that can accept that has the ability to accept materials that are listed as no's on this list. So the question was, should we update our list, which is a little bit of work. We can't really use the same format because, as you can see, everything that's listed on here is going into a recycle bin. And because there are now so many no's, you really kind of have to have things listed next to each other, because our no's before were just listed on the back, and there were just a few of them. Now there are a lot more. So we really have to redesign this list. And the question is, do we want to do that? Or, like other towns, some of our neighboring towns, do we want to adopt this list, the Recycle CT Foundation, and just, for simplicity's sake, and just not worry about the additional items that City Carting can take that that are listed as no's on here.
The ones that are on the outs that city carding has the capability of disposing of or recycling, what if you asterisk them and then put them on the bottom saying not in our recycling, but there is a capability? And Ed, would that be, that would fall under your purview?
Are you saying that we can take them in our Darien facility?
Yes.
So why can't we just edit, why can't we take their format but rearrange the list? I mean,
We can do that. So
it's like instead of the one we have that's outdated or the one that's not accurate, can we take their format with the 2 columns and change which bullets are on which side? All over the place, this is for Darien only, this is just for the Darien.
Should I bring it up, Ed, more in terms of like the budget issue?
Well, money is always a factor.
Okay.
To reprint those things is,
Right.
is expensive.
I would suggest, let's get that copy out to everyone on the committee, so that...
The what's in, what's out?
Right, so that over the next month, because the world is not going to spin off its axis in the next 30 days, 28 days, February.
Right.
And let's each form individual opinions, because to not let the perfect be the enemy of the good, there are very few things that have actually changed that the people who are in tune already don't know about. So this issue, I humbly suggest, is less than 1% of what our problem is. I wouldn't spend a lot of time trying to make it perfect.
Well, true. As city carding, as the people I've been talking to at city carding point out, it's never going to be done per
Right.
se, because the things that they don't accept are things that if they find a market for in the future, they might accept. So something that's a no today might be a yes in the future. Something that they're currently taking, they might find that there's too great an issue with contamination and they'll become no's. So I guess that is another reason for bringing up whether we should, whether we should spend the time, energy, and money to develop our own professional-looking document. If it will, in 6 months or a year, there might be a couple of different changes. Right now, this, I think, has to come off the town website, because there are a lot of things on this list that are now no's. The whole issue with plastic bags and the films, shredded paper, those are the 2 big things. Styrofoam, those are the 3 big categories of materials that should not be going in single stream, and they're all listed as okay here.
And again, I come back to the fact that, basically we've got 3 large groups of people. The recycling fanatics, and I would think that most of those people already know those 3 things are verboten. The people who recycle religiously who don't know that they're no longer on the list, and the people who have never cared. So again, I come back to, for a 1-month time frame to solve the problem of the people in the middle who care but don't know, I think everybody should get that list and form an opinion. And next month, let's make an actionable item on which way to go. That would be my predilection.
Jamie?
I just have a quick question,
Sure.
Carolyn. Thank you. On the what's in, what's out list, what are the items that our city carding facility can take that are on the out list?
Okay, I have a list of them. This is as far as I can determine. So gift wrap that is non-metallic. City, what's in, what's out is, says no to all gift wrap. So they will permit gift wrap if it's non-metallic. What's in, what's out accepts paper bags if they're brown. City carding will accept paper bags that are brown and other colors. They will accept ice cream containers. What's in, what's out, list those as no. Loose bottle caps are no's on the what's in, what's out, and city carding has the ability to recover those, so they do accept loose bottle caps. Plastic plates, bowls, and utensils are listed as no, and city carding has the ability to recover those. prescription bottles are listed as no, and city carding says that we can accept those. The plastic lids that come on single-use cups, like when you go to Dunkin' Donuts and you get a coffee, the paper cup itself has to go in the trash because of the plastic lining in the cup. But the lid that's on top of it, city carding will accept, but what's in, what's out says it should go in the trash. Clear drinking glasses and vases are permitted by city carding, and they're both listed as no's by Recycle CT. Aerosol containers that are food grade are permitted by what's in, what's out, but city carding will accept all aerosol containers of any type as long as they're empty. And the last item is pots and pans. They will accept pots and pans in single stream, and what's in, what's out, list them as no's. So that those are the categories of items.
Great, thank you. So I recall when we were just starting the initiative with single stream recycling, it was notable to me that the folks from City Carding were really generous and said, when in doubt, put it in single stream.
Yes.
We'll sort it out.
Yes.
If it doesn't belong there.
Right.
So in an interest to continue to change behaviors and culture, wouldn't we want to continue that kind of public messaging? Let people know that if there's certain items that they should not be recycling, the 3 items you mentioned, shredded paper, plastic films, etc. But then let people, I always think it's better to try and recycle everything that you can, especially since City Carding is willing to take these items. I would hate for us to not be recycling things that can be, just to make sure that a paper list matches with some other paper list, if I'm being clear about what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I think you are. To me, there's a bigger picture other than getting people to, when in doubt, throw it out or throw it in. I think the bigger question is, if we go by the letter of the law, what percentage of the public is simply going to throw up their hands and say, well, I can put the lid in, but I can't put the cup in. I can put this wrapper in. I can't. Forget it. I'm not doing it. And I think you're in danger of taking a much larger slice of the pie out of the recycling stream than you are. Again, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
But that's what, that was the reason, the rationale behind this list, because I think that they realize that the lids on the single-use cups can be recycled, but for the very reason that you just mentioned, I think that they thought it's easier just to tell people, because the straw in the cup can't be recycled. Who's going to take the lid off a cup, bring it home? Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why I think they developed the list, and they have more no's on here than necessary to try to streamline the process.
But I understand why someone in the state has put a number of things on the no list.
It's actually not the state per se. It's
no, not the list, but why DEEP has knocked it out. But if you go with common logic, which does not always represent facts, I've got a Dunkin' Donuts cup, and I can't throw this into recycling because the state is concerned that some of my saliva has gotten on the cup. I think you're taking a lot of people out of the recycling process by making it far too difficult for them.
I totally see it differently. I think the role of the committee and the Sustainable CT program that would actually, which will recognize education programs, is your responsibility is to say we have this fabulous recycling center and we take a broad stroke of things and we want to tell people what they can put in recycling. Okay. I want to know what I can do. What can I didn't know I could put my pots and pans in there. I would throw it in the garbage. So I think that having a positive list is important. There is going to be a no list because there are certain things that fact of life we can't do. Now, whether we go through a 4-color, 8-color glossy brochure, or whether this is an ongoing, living, breathing list on the website that is there for everybody to look, and maybe there's signs at the dump. If you have questions, you invest in one good sign, refer to, website www for the full detail. So I don't care so much about the color brochure, but I care a lot about the information and how we present it, so that people have the ability, if they're interested, to know what's there.
So, for example,
so I know some won't follow it, Terry, but I think we can. We also save money, I think, don't we, if the pots and pans go into recycling, not in the garbage over a period of time, and the weight of
Well, we actually make more money if they go into the metal scrap.
right.
Right.
So, and it is a
And get
little,
recycled, probably.
Yes.
yeah, and it is a little bit of a balancing issue, because you don't want people to put too many things in single stream that they're not permitted to, because then the level of contamination rises. One of the things that Ed, I'm sure, is very aware of right now is that whereas cities and towns were being paid lots of money for their single stream recyclables in past years, now they're having to pay the towns that have the cleaner single stream recycling, i.e. the lower levels of contamination, only those items that belong in there are the ones that are doing better in terms of
cost management,
yes.
or cost recovery, or
yes.
whatever word you'd use.
Like I just heard that Greenwich, they just redid their contract, and they don't have to pay to get rid of single stream recycles, but they're also not getting paid, whereas I believe both Norwalk and Stamford have pretty substantial budgets that have to be devoted to getting single stream recyclables hauled now, because their levels of contamination are high.
How are we doing?
We're pretty good.
So that's great. That's a
Thumbs
credit,
up.
that's a credit to this committee, and to your point, Catherine.
And to Ed.
Yeah.
Yes, I
I
mean,
just balance the books, that's all I do.
Yeah, sure.
you just unlock the gates in the morning.
Lock them up at night.
Do we still pay $93 a ton for the garbage,
94, I think.
It's just under 94.
Yeah. So what I can do is I will circulate, this is the list that I devised in talking to City Carding. I'll send it to everyone. I can attach this, which is also on the Recycle CT website, so we can kind of compare them and decide how we want to present this. Maybe we can take this list off the town website and just put this type list up for the time being, just so that people know, do we think we should do that?
If
think
it's
it's a great
changed,
idea.
you should give them the
I mean,
most
people are
updated
asking
information.
almost on a
Yeah.
daily basis. I'm getting emails, comments on Facebook, comments on Twitter about, needing to hear what can go in the recycling bin. So
You're right. I hear it from parents, and I'm in the cafeteria.
there's a lot of
every week,
confusion.
And I explain to them what goes in based upon your list and that current revised list. And people were like, I didn't realize there's no film.
I didn't know shredded paper couldn't go in there.
I mean, there was a lot of learning, like people stop and say, wow, I just learned something today. Thanks for letting me volunteer.
Well, you can also say that it's always going to be evolving.
Right.
Hopefully we're going to increase the capabilities of recycling more and more. So we're going to give you the most updated information we have.
An expensive.
And if you have a
brochure
question,
may
yeah.
not be a good use of money. If it's
Yeah,
going
no,
to change.
I think that if it's always going to be changing, I think the website's the best place to put it.
Yes.
A sign at the dump is the best place, and to use the positive, this definitely goes in. So
Right, so-
people are not.
Have we gotten an updated yes and no list from City Carding?
No. We got a list from City Carding in October. There are now, let's see, I would say there are at least close to 10 items that were, this is the point I'm trying to make. Sometimes shredded paper is listed as okay here. They're now saying shredded paper is not okay.
They being City Carding?
Yes. So that was one of the things that Craig and I were talking about, was that City Carding, rather than us approaching City Carding and saying, can this go in, can this go in, can this go in, it would be nice if they gave, it would be nice if they told us exactly what they can accept and what they can't accept. But again, it seems to change based on, what their market is.
So just a recommendation, take it or leave it, of course, but I would run this list online. I would have dated And then I would ask City Carding to provide you regular updates from them. If they're trying to manage the cleanliness of their recycling.
Yes.
To send communication to Ed, I guess, whenever their list changes, which then can be easily managed online. And, we can send it out on the social media feeds from the town of Darien with a link to and you can even fashion it as what's in, what's out if you want to. That's kind of a nice way to do it, but you probably don't want to spend the money to publish another piece of paper, since it sounds like it's very dynamic.
Especially since that paper would likely have to be recycled very shortly.
Yeah.
The irony.
We want to work with City Carding certainly to comply with their, sounds like, ever-changing rules, so just some suggestions.
Yeah, I'm just looking at City Carding's website now, and unfortunately, they don't, on their own, publish their list of what they accept or not.
But the facility, I had just recently gotten a tour of the facility, and they really do, it's amazing. The machines kick out what's not recyclable.
Yeah.
So it really, I tell the kids that in the cafeteria, I'm like, well, if this is not really supposed to be there, the machines will kick it out and it'll be okay.
Some of it.
We'll try to recycle.
Some of it does go through, and that's what causes the contamination. Like the plastic bags, for example, and film does get through, and actually it doesn't at City Carding, but in some materials recovery facilities it does, and that creates contamination. So there are some things that do.
And I had heard it's not that it's contamination, but that it gets shredded and caught up in the gears.
It does that too.
And it's a machinery problem.
But
I
think in the Darien facility, they corrected.
They did.
corrected that.
Yeah.
But contamination is two things. About this, it's like if there's food or waste contamination on the saran wrap or whatever might be in there. And then what happens when they bundle this, in China, they would take, you could send boatloads that had 40% it wasn't recyclable, and they would accept it. The markets now will not take a parcel if it's less than something like 80 or 90% of the actual pure material that they want to recycle. So our ability to even ship it out that way, they're being forced. They can't sell it if it's contaminated. And there's a lot of different...
Right, it's just garbage.
It becomes garbage.
Right.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to note is we do so many other things in this town with the mattresses and the batteries and the paint. So our what's in, what's out list has to include all those things that people in town might drive in and throw it in the trash. I mean, hopefully you see it if you pull in here, but I think those are benefits that we have in town that I talk to people that they don't do those in other towns, and they would like to do what we do.
Right.
And our lists should not just be what goes in the single stream, but all the other things that can be recycled.
We did have that on our original list. We did have it on the back. We had everything, other items accepted for recycling at Darien Recycling Center, and there was a list of everything.
So that's important information, I think.
Yes.
Because we're ahead of the curve on that compared to other communities.
And I did tack it on to my revised list. So yes, that's really important.
By the way, speaking of which, when I dropped off my old smoke alarms, the signage for smoke alarms and it is not there anymore.
How about the bin for the smoke alarms?
There was nothing there.
Yeah, we just had to remove it, we just sent it away.
Oh,
So we had to take it down.
okay.
Yeah. So the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is the swap shop, and Dan is not here, so we'll, the next item is schools, and Christine is not here. Energy Task Force status reports, the solar PV system installations. Ed?
We are almost ready to start them up.
Yay!
So I think NCON is finishing up today, and by the end of this week should have everything wrapped up here in this building. Just waiting for meters from Eversource.
Are we having any kind of like ribbon cutting type ceremony for?
I was told we were.
Okay.
Yeah, that comes, Craig put that lower on the agenda here, PR moment event on completion of solar rooftop installation.
Yeah, we have to get a picture of that so we can, put that out. So you'll let us know when that's going.
Trying to line up some type of video of the three facilities from the sky.
Oh.
See if we can get something on the website to show that.
Drone.
Yeah.
3 facilities are?
On the town hall, the Darien Police Station, and the DPW garage facility.
Okay, and the police station energy efficiency improvements?
We have a
So
meeting.
let me back up a bit for the minutes. So the solar panel on all 3 buildings is a step away?
Step away.
Okay.
We have
Not just town
sign-offs,
hall,
we have
all three.
sign-offs from the first 2, and the town hall is the last to go.
Okay.
We're still waiting on the inspection. We're almost done with that.
And then the police station energy efficiency improvements?
We have our kickoff meeting on Thursday, would it be tomorrow? To start that project.
Do you want to just give like a 2-sentence update on what the project involves, or?
Probably be better off next meeting.
Next meeting, okay.
I'll give an update on how we're doing and which direction we're taking.
Great. Kathy, sustainable CT? You want to talk about or update on?
Yes, but just to go down to 5, just to make sure we don't, to not have to go back, and I was going to ask if there's going to be an event, will you work with Craig on, if you're going to take some videos, but I know we did think of ribbon cutting, or we're going to put somebody on the roof, all tied in with, no, I'm kidding, but we had talked about being able to have a photo or a ribbon cutting or whatever.
Yeah, no, I won't do it, so that was a small piece of what rolling it out to the town would look like. I want to put something on the website that people could actually see. It would include some type of quote-unquote ribbon cutting.
And as the weather gets a little warmer in a month or 2 would be a good time to do that, probably?
Probably. I'd like to get them up and running as soon as I can.
Yes, obviously that has to be
But I think a formal, ceremony could come after that, if that's okay. I don't want to hold up one.
No, I'm not saying one, but we're talking maybe a month or 2 months away would be reasonable to do that.
I think that would be fair.
That's all, just want to clarify that. Thank you. Okay, I'm always looking for points too. So as far as sustainable CT, I'm going to start with the fact that Jamie is in the room too. Do I stay there or come over? But Craig and I had the opportunity to sit with Jamie a couple of weeks ago to go over the list of items that seem like there are points that we can reasonably assume we will be able to achieve of things that are in process. And we went through that list and we come to 120, 150 points of things that are kind of in process.
Good.
And that didn't, as we spoke, we realized there were things maybe at the depot or the police station or other places that the selectmen know about that we don't know about, that are all those add-on things. But we really all agreed that we were looking to find the things that would identify points available so that we can make a certification happen this semester, this round. So that's really the goal, and Craig is very focused on that, and went to the point of coming up with where he thinks the points are. And we're collecting. We know we got points for CPACE. We know there the work that Ken and you, Beth, I guess, are doing on tracking energy uses. So there are a number of things. And then we each had some items to begin to investigate here. And through it looks like I count up maybe 120, 150 points. We need 200 points to make this happen. So we really only have March, April, and May to have a preliminary set of these in. So the task assignment really has to get into a to-do list greater than we did.
Did we hit every one of the 8 categories?
This covered most of the 8 categories in what Craig was doing.
Good.
We agreed that it would be helpful to meet with some of your top staff. Now, we have not scheduled that because we're asking for information on plans on conservation development. We might be asking for things, obviously, we talked to you on our organics recycling, and then to have your staff know what we're asking for, because a lot of the documentation is stuff that we're not going to be able to get a hold of. So I'd like to work with Craig and you to set up when you thought that was appropriate.
Yep.
And I know it was who you were working with.
I spoke to Kate.
Kate.
Wanted to talk with Kate about the best way to do that, whether it would be in a future department head meeting. She had suggested, which I thought might be a really nice idea, for you and Craig or your other volunteers to be available for a chunk of time during one day when department heads could come during, when they have openings in their schedule to talk with you.
Sure.
So she's very willing to work with you, so I recommend that you reach out to Kate to help organize that.
So to reach out with her on that,
Yeah.
okay. And we'll try to figure out the best way to do that, so we can start asking on the kinds of
So
things.
basically what I think I'm hearing is that the most effective way to deal with this is to pick a day where at least one of us will be available throughout one entire day, so that department heads can come in on that day to fill us in. Is that what I heard?
I don't think Kate said it needs to be necessarily an entire day. That was one idea that she had as a way to be able to have access to the department heads but not negatively impact their workday.
Right.
So I just recommend that you reach out to her and finalize whatever plan she can work with you on that.
Okay.
Okay, certainly, we can certainly do that, and certainly over the course of a couple of hours, if we have our materials here and the master list, we could certainly tailor them to the people with specific questions. Okay, and we were, beyond that, we had a list of, we started a list which you consolidated on some of us starting to look. So here's our list, and did he send, I don't know if everybody sent this. I can probably send back that, I'll pass it around now. But this was Craig finding, 150 points, and then the broader list was the list that you had shortened for us, that all of us said we'd go start to talk to people to look for things. So anybody have any updates on?
I do, but I can't hand them to you.
Okay, we can talk about them.
You said something about the library.
I discovered an hour ago why I couldn't find the minutes.
Okay.
This computer was in the repair shop last month.
Okay, that was
So
yours.
the minutes are on my old computer where the items that we have. We're going to have more than 120 or 150 points because I went through the Monuments and Ceremonies Commission, I went through the Cemeteries Commission, I went through the library, and garnered a whole lot of information. Unfortunately, it's all on my old computer. But yes, I've started that process with those groups already, and there are programs that we have either completed or in the process of completing that will garner more points for us.
And I think this list, which Craig started, that I had printed, not online, or I would have emailed it or shared it before today's meeting. My bad, when I found out he wasn't coming. And maybe just we'll read down quickly what they were, and if there's anybody in this room that's working on them. The first was 1.1 brownfields. So we have a list of properties that reported to Connecticut Deep that they have contamination, but it wasn't clear to us that there was any action on these brownfields that we were doing that would allow us to apply actions to certification. CPACE was the Green Bank properties. We do have them. I know Craig got that information. He did talk to the Green Bank. So we do know what buildings are currently using. So that's pretty much a done. Okay. There are a number with open space plans that needs the plan of conservation and development for open space planning that we're going to need. We didn't put a name to that, but Action 2, Action 4, there are a number that require getting into the details of the plan of conservation development. And so that's going to have to be somebody. I know Craig started asking for some information, but I don't know that we've done them yet. The parking needs assessment, there was a proposal to change parking regulations in September, and there's some work with that may qualify. So we may need to get back to you on those.
Like in the downtown, you mean?
Parking needs assessment, 10 points. The Darien Board of Selectmen will receive public comment and proposed changes to parking regulations on Monday, September 2018. So that was the beginning of a process, and it must be a step that says assess your parking needs.
Remind me of what the look back is. When do we look back?
They all have different look backs. Each one will tell you some are a year, some are 2 years, some are 3 years.
5 years.
5 years on that one?
5 years, because we have other studies internal that we should look at to see if they fall in the.
I also thought that phenomenal study that I attended your selectmen's meeting with the parking areas at Norotan Heights and the work that was done to look at needs for both walking and biking.
Yes, and we have the Pedestrian Infrastructure Advisory Committee final report that is germane to your work.
Pedestrian infrastructure, okay, see? Okay, so, yeah, so he's put some questions. Town study in 2015, question mark, private study?
Okay.
Question mark, so those were things. The energy use, tracking energy uses, I guess Ken Coe is committed to doing that. The energy, this got back to Jamie, helping us maybe make an introduction. The Energy Star rated buildings, if the Board of Ed buildings are Energy Star rated, there are points per building, which got back to, that was the other thing, that we were trying to make some contact with the
Yes.
Board of Ed.
Yep.
And if you,
I'll work with you on that.
when you have any feedback from the superintendent, we'll work on that.
Perfect.
This building here is.
Energy
great.
Star?
Yeah. I have the certificate.
Oh, good. Do we
5
post
points.
that anywhere so that we can apply
I
for
think
somewhere?
Token was built as well.
That's.
Class 1 renewables, installing solar, Kate and Ed, reduce town use by 10%. So I think it gets into the date, the ability
We'll
to
post it anyway.
document whether, how much of a reduction some of these things are. And that one I didn't look on Craig. We're putting that square in Craig's.
For which, I'm sorry?
Class 1 renewables, installing solar, data, exclamation point, Kate, Ed, Board of Ed, NCON, reduce town use by 10%.
I have this.
But is that town
Okay.
use or is that building by building?
I'm giving you the broads, I'm looking at what he has
Yeah.
written on this statement, whereas he's pulled out off of these, which ones to focus on. And these are the ones that he was pretty sure we would get the points on. We had the broader list among us with the Historical Society, Chamber of Commerce,
Yeah.
those that
Yeah.
we're looking further in. Almost done, just a couple more. Streetlights, install efficient streetlights, and I think there was some issue of figuring out whether there was a cost reduction or energy reduction from the streetlights.
Yep.
But again, there's documentation needed for this, so it's knocking on somebody's
That's on
door.
Energy Star.
Would that come through
Yeah.
Energy Star? Okay.
I mean, the energy usage.
The portfolio
for
manager.
Eversource, the
Okay.
portfolio manager. They have a,
Reducing the waste and the amount of waste that we've reduced, and it looks like we know some of that, 3,445 tons in 2015, 2,672 tons in 2018, so that gets us points. So again, that'll be documenting the waste reduction.
And that's municipal solid
I
waste,
assume that's
right?
municipal
Okay.
solid waste. And these all go by those account numbers. And 7.7, increased recycling organics. Mattresses, paint, smoke detectors, that could be up to 40 points. Where it gets back to what I remember is the more things you do, like the what's in, what's out, the website, or being at the school arts thing with the kids, I think the education programs may fit
We
in
get
somewhere
points for that.
additional points that
Great.
you may not be considering. Again, it's taking a long time to go into all
Yes.
of these and find out what counts.
So this is, you had mentioned also that if we partner with other organizations in town, like the Land Trust or like the DCA, that if we put certain of their events like on the town website or publicize them in some way, that creates a partnership that we then get points for.
Correct.
So none of, that doesn't include
No,
any of
we
that?
are starting with the
Just the town
agreement
side.
to be able to, by August,
Okay.
be able to become certified. The
Right.
first pass at that is to send this in at the middle of May.
Yes.
For critique. Then you can do whatever in order to submit the official application in August. Clearly, there are many, many things that are not in this list, and all I'm trying to do is at least let us all wrap our heads around where we think the points are.
Okay.
And how close that would get us. Then you get creative.
Good.
And the discussion had been, do we take a long time and find creative things, or do we want to be able to say, come October,
Create the
Darien
backbone,
has
right.
been certified by Sustainable CT.
Right.
And the notion was we want to be able to say Darien CT, a certified Sustainable CT community. Is that correct?
So yes, kind of looking for the low hanging fruit,
Yeah,
all the things we
yes.
already do. Don't know where the swap shop figures in there. Don't know where the Boy Scout tag sale figures in there, right?
Well,
Town
you brought up the
partnerships.
depot and some of
Yeah.
the thriving youth-related things.
Absolutely, the
that-
community fund, thriving youth connected community initiatives. Absolutely.
And those are the things that I believe take you from bronze to silver, which we may not have the physical ability to gather and
Right.
submit all that by
Right,
August.
right.
We may or we may not,
Sure.
depending on how fast inputting this stuff goes. If this gets in and we say, we don't have a lot of work on documentation.
They'll probably come back to you.
Yeah, well,
So-
that's what I heard.
But that's a good thing, is that, like, it's going to be layers and layers.
Yes,
Right,
it
just
becomes-
like the
So,
the qualifications are layers and layers. So-
come back to something Jamie just mentioned, the Boy Scout tag sale. Since I'm involved with that, what metrics would we be looking to measure?
You'd be going back to this list of 72 items and finding one, or, on the big yellow sheet.
Well, no, I'm talking about in terms of, okay, we have a funnel this big coming into the Boy Scout tag sale. So do I estimate the tonnage of furniture that?
No, I think, well, it goes back here, because the way this program works is there are 72 actions. So if the work at the Boy Scout tag sale, with any kind of relationship with the town, is doing one of these 72 things, then you can submit it as points towards certification.
So we need somebody in the Boy Scouts officially to tell somebody in the town officially what they have done.
First we have to-
I would say look over the list of 72 things. You would be a good one to look that over and see where the tag sale fits in there in terms
Yeah,
of.
it goes back to this.
But then in terms of what I'm hearing is that someone in the Boy Scouts would tabulate that and then report it to someone in the town.
It depends on what the
the
item
action.
is, what the
And
action
what the
item
task
is.
asks you to
Yeah.
do to prove that you've done
Right.
they met that task requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And, it's probably too much for this meeting now, but I get excited when I sit and talk to Kathy and Craig, because my mind is turning about things like the police department and the juvenile review board and the cops and kids and all of these amazing programs that really do help make us a sustainable community, that are beyond the things that are traditional.
right. It's a matter of finding
How you
some
can
of
plug it
these
in.
hold a
Yeah.
sustainability event.
Right.
Holding a sustainability event, the Boy Scout tag sale, if the
Is a
town is
major
involved,
sustainable
and if
event.
our police do it, I mean,
Maybe.
I don't know where that would, to answer your question, I don't know
Okay.
where the Boy Scout tag sale would fall, and it would have to prove that it happened, that it was advertised,
Oh.
that the town had a connection to it in some way, shape, or form. in some-
Would the town need any, well, we have two major town involvements. Number one, we have to get the permits from the town. And number two, Department of Public Works has graciously helped us in terms of segregating items that we have collected from other people that is refuse. We do both recycling and waste disposal, which
Great.
is involvement with DPW.
Sure, the things that aren't sold
Yeah.
have to go somewhere and be
Well,
properly.
no,
managed.
that's also an addition, because we have a list of about 12 charities that come in after the tag sale for all the items.
Totally a place that you can work
Yes,
that
yeah,
out, that
so
list,
you
I
have to-
guarantee you.
Yeah, so you have to be
Right.
reading those, I
Yeah.
gotta tell you,
Okay.
it'll put you to sleep at night, but I've been sitting
Well,
there
what
staring
about-
at my computer,
we have-
reading these.
We have the other 800-pound gorilla in town, which is person to person.
Right. So,
It's
again, I
endless.
think if Craig
There's so
were
many
here, he'd
things.
say we need to concentrate on these 10
Yeah, right,
items
right,
that bring
right.
us to 150 points and go from there. And anything that anybody can bring to the table is welcome. The way it
Okay.
ultimately is going to
Yeah.
be set, let me read you these two, and then I'm going to tell you how it's all going to get into the
Okay.
system. And we're just at the
Yes,
end. The submit housing data profiles. Again, I don't know where that is, but that's an area that Craig believes we've done something that would give us 10 points. And our affordable housing data there were some questions because the last study may have been, 2013 may have been too old, but there may have been some updates to that and credit for the future work with the town hall. So those were all that, as I said, came to some bid of 120 to 150 points on those actions alone, just the ones that are there. What will happen with these is the Sustainable CT website exists. Any of you can log on and have an account. I don't know if anybody can have an account. And then there is a way to start collecting data into the system. It's still protected. It doesn't go out to anyone. It's just like your own Google Docs.
But have we decided like who, like
Right,
Jamie,
well,
Craig, and you are the primary people to enter?
For now.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be. But
Okay.
Jamie, as the person who was the town official associated with the registration, is a user of that account. And Sustainable CT added Craig and I so that we can get in, and so when you go in, it says go to your municipal. If you logged in, you go to your town, and the three of us can get into the town, and then you can have different writing and reading privileges and uploading privileges. We have yet to add the rest of the committee to that, but I
Okay.
assume that would be a next step. So if you were working on something and you had information from the tag sale, that would go in and would start getting collated. I don't know exactly how to tell you how to do all that yet, because I'm still learning it myself. But that would be, all the information that Ken works on or you work on would go into the site.
So Craig had asked everyone if they were available for a meeting on January 27th. I think it was
Probably
more
to do that
to
kind of
strategize how to
working.
do this,
So
so.
rolling up your
okay.
sleeves.
January 27th?
Yes,
February.
Yeah.
Because since
I,
it was in his email.
yeah, I'm
it's
not
in
sure
the
what the
same-
time was, but I think it was 12:30, or maybe I'm assuming it was 12:30.
Discuss availability for a special meeting on 2/27/19, 1:30.
1:30.
Oh, no, 2/20/17, no, and then
Yeah.
1:30 was the adjourn today.
Right.
Wrong thing. No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2/27/19.
I think
I'm
it was
assuming that's
12:30, or I was assuming it was 12:30, but just check the last email that
Okay.
Craig sent and just let him know if he is able to do that.
One question, what are our
Okay.
deadlines? What's our timeline?
Is
for
the deadline in May for the, thank you,
Thank
for
you,
the
Jamie.
initial
Isn't it like
test
May
submission.
2nd? Is it May
I forget.
2nd?
That's what rings in my mind.
Yeah,
May
I
2nd.
think it's in the
May
beginning
2nd,
of May.
so really end of April. We want to have
And
everything
again, that is
firm.
not a complete, but anything that's
So
submitted
this
then
special
will be
meeting,
reviewed.
this is just a working meeting, not a
Yeah, he didn't.
meeting of the board.
He didn't specify that it was a working meeting, he just asked.
No, it's a working meeting, not a public meeting. That's,
Oh, that I don't know.
All he said in his email, and it's written on the agenda, item to add for next agenda.
Mhm.
Discuss availability for a special meeting on 2/27/19.
Right.
okay, what we need to clarify is that a
It's a Wednesday.
working committee meeting, or is
doubt
that
it.
a public meeting? Because
doubt
if it's
it's
a
a-
public meeting, we have to post it.
Right, I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either, but we need to
Because
verify.
it's not on our regular day, it's on the 27th,
Right.
it's a Wednesday, and I think it's just to get everybody's head around
Yeah,
all the different layers.
to go into
So-
the weeds on this,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So, for the time being, we're going to assume that this is a working session, not a meeting.
Correct.
That's my
Okay.
interpretation.
Yeah, we're working meeting.
So we have to get stuff in by the end of April.
Kathy, is watershed, where does watershed fit in? Because I don't think I was part of that email.
Watershed was part of Ed.
Did you get one of these, Laura, last time?
Laura, the best way to do it is to go into, seriously.
No. I got information about watershed. I just didn't know if I need to fulfill it or just to basically say, Craig, this is what I got from Aquarian. How do you want me?
Any information you have, you can get to Craig, you can get to Craig and I, you can get to, from the things that were on this original list, correct? Any information you have, get it to us in any way, shape.
So whatever information, it's not, you don't want me to basically put in information or just get the
At this
information.
point,
Not yet.
not yet.
Yeah, where
It's
was
already on, he was CC'd on this.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
make it easy. Right now, we're at data collection. We're not at information. We're at data.
And will they do rolling submissions of data collection? Once you get your bulk in, could you, say that we're still in progress of getting?
They,
and
from
then
what I
still be
read,
reviewed?
no, May
So
2nd
that's
is
it?
hard.
It's
The actual
hard?
deadline is
Yeah.
August.
It's hard.
Okay.
The reason is that they use a broad range of volunteer
Right.
readers
Right.
that go through, are trained in these, and will go through and then provide you feedback.
Okay.
They'll tell you everything from, you have to have headings and subheadings that are wrong, and fix those, because the readers can't follow
So
your
would
thing to,
would it be more
that does not qualify.
Would it be more strategic to give it like a bullet point and then, whatever documentation we have?
Yes.
And then wait for us to come back and say you need more? As opposed to not putting it
I
in
think
at all
what
in
the
the
best thing to
application?
do is to look at the ones that have already been done.
Okay.
The way I'm doing it is trying to go in and look
Look
at.
at
Yes,
the
you can go in and
applications,
look
okay.
at
Yeah, we
Fairfield.
So we'll
do
have a
that
model,
now.
we'll have a framework.
You can go
Okay.
in and, as a sustainable CT
Yeah.
person, if you set up an account, you can
Yeah.
go in, just as your email and password, you can look at how any other community
Yeah.
submitted it, and all their background information is there.
I don't even think you need to set up an
You
account.
don't have to set up an
Yeah,
account.
Okay, you
because
don't
I
have to,
did
yeah.
it,
You
and
did
I
it
did,
without,
yeah. All you do is you go on the map, you find a community that has been certified. Like, I looked at Greenwich, for example. You can go to Greenwich and you can go through their application and see all, and then it kind of gives you ideas. It sort of, gives you ideas on, oh, well, we do that, or we do something like that.
But it is
So-
going to ask for a bit of a narrative, and then it's going to say, you need to upload your plan of conservation document, and you need to upload your energy bill, and you need to upload you need a link to the website that advertised the event.
Right,
And it's
right,
gonna
that's the
give you-
execution part of it.
It's the execution of it.
Right.
It's all going to start with a short.
Yeah, I was
narrative.
just thinking about the application, like how much information we have to have, and it's a hard deadline.
And it really doesn't matter because
Yeah.
it's feedback, and you're going to get feedback on what you submit.
And are you certified for a year, for?
Multiple years.
Multiple
You're
years,
always-
and then do
you're
you
at that
upgrade
level,
to
and
the
then-
next?
Yeah,
Yeah.
towns,
Okay.
like the towns that were bronze want to be
Barrel.
silver, and the silver want to be gold.
So we already
We're there.
discussed the solar rooftop installation PR moment. Anything else from anyone? Anything you want to see on the agenda next month? Ed, anything? Anything to add, anyone? Do I have a motion to adjourn? A second? Okay, we are adjourning, channel.